We're here today to announce the first synthetic cell. As soon as we had these two sequences, we thought, if this is supposed to be the smallest genome of a self-replicating species, could there be even a smaller genome? Could we understand the basis of cellular life at the genetic level?
On May 21st, 2010, this historic announcement was made by Craig Venter on the first fully functioning, reproducing cell controlled by synthetic DNA. Every protein of this cell was based on a synthetic code they had developed. As exciting as this was for bringing in a new era of science, the question was posed, then what is life if we can just create it through a code? There are some experts that have suggested that an ancient blueprint was left behind. The Mayan tree of life may not look like a coded depiction for the human genome. However, researchers started mapping its imagery. They counted 12 human figures, a dozen animals, over 25 botanical or inanimate objects, and 9 stylized deity masks carved into the stone. Given the multiple overlapping scenes, it appears to be a narrative. But what is the narrative? And could Sterling's suggestion that these images belonged to a much older culture be just the beginning of its origin?
Well, let's go back to the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden, there are actually 2 trees of significance. One of them is the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which Adam and Eve eat from, thus entering into a state where they may begin to make responsible choices for which they will have to bear the costs. And the other is the tree of life. When the demiurge drives Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden, he states his motive, and the motive is kind of eerie. He says, this has to be done. They have to be driven out of the Garden of Eden. They've eaten of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The next thing they will do is eat of the tree of life. And then they will become gods like us. That statement is actually in Genesis. What on earth is going on there? What does that mean? Is there some deeply buried secret of transcendence that demiurgic and archonic forces have concealed from us from so long? Is there a tree of life? Is there something beyond what we think of as the span of human life? Some eternity